Imagine stepping into a time machine that takes you back 2,000 years to a land where emperors claimed descent from gods, where samurai fought with honor, and where ancient traditions still shape modern life. This is Japan, a nation whose history is as breathtaking as its landscapes. Today, we'll journey through 2 millennia of triumphs, tragedies, and transformations. From imperial courts to neon-lit cities, let's uncover the story of the land of the rising sun. Japan's story begins over 2,000 years ago during the Yayoi period, around 300 BCE. Before this time, Japan was home to the Jomon people, hunter-gatherers who crafted pottery adorned with intricate rope-like patterns. These early inhabitants lived in harmony with nature, worshipping spirits that resided in trees, rivers, and mountains, a practice that would later evolve into Shinto, Japan's indigenous religion. Around 300 BCE, everything changed. Rice cultivation and metal tools arrived from mainland Asia, likely brought by migrants crossing the Korean peninsula. This marked the start of the Yayoi period, named after the archaeological site where these advancements were first discovered. Villages grew larger, societies became more complex, and social hierarchies began to form. For the first time, Japan saw the emergence of organized agriculture, with rice paddies dotting the landscape and communities working together to sustain themselves. By the 4th century CE, one clan rose above the rest, the Yamato. Centered in what is now Noro Prefecture, the Yamato claimed divine ancestry, tracing their lineage back to the sun goddess Amaterasu. According to legend, Amaterasu sent her grandson Ninigi to rule the earth, and his descendants became Japan's emperors. This mythological connection gave the Yamato immense legitimacy, allowing them to consolidate power and establish what many consider the first unified Japanese state. But the Yamato weren't just rulers, they were innovators. They adopted administrative practices and cultural elements from neighboring Korea and China, including writing systems, Confucian ideals, and even court rituals. These influences laid the groundwork for Japan's unique blend of tradition and adaptation, a theme that would define its history for centuries to come. The next major turning point came during the Asuka period, beginning in 538 CE. It was during this time that Buddhism arrived in Japan, introduced via Korea. At first, Buddhism faced resistance from those loyal to Shinto traditions. But over time, the two belief systems merged harmoniously. Buddhist temples sprang up across the land, blending Chinese architectural styles with Japanese aesthetics. One of the most iconic examples is Horyuji Temple, built in the early 7th century and still standing today as one of the oldest wooden structures in the world. Inside these temples, monks practiced meditation and taught philosophies that emphasized compassion, impermanence, and enlightenment. As Japan entered the Noro period in 710 CE, the capital was moved to Heihokyo, modern-day Noro. This era marked a golden age of art, culture, and governance. The government modeled itself after China's Tang dynasty, adopting centralized bureaucracy and legal codes. Literature flourished, with works like the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki chronicling Japan's myths, legends, and early history. Artisans created breathtaking sculptures, paintings, and calligraphy, often inspired by Buddhist teachings. Even the layout of the city itself reflected cosmological principles, with streets aligned according to cardinal directions. These centuries, from the Yayoi period to the Noro period, were transformative for Japan. They set the stage for everything that followed: the rise of samurai, the unification of warring states, and Japan's eventual emergence as a global power. But at their core, they reveal something timeless about this nation: its ability to adapt without losing sight of its roots. In 794 CE, Emperor Kanmu moved the capital to Heian-kyo, modern-day Kyoto, ushering in the Heian period, one of Japan's most culturally rich eras. Lasting nearly 4 centuries, this period was defined by elegance, poetry, and courtly intrigue. At the heart of Heian society was the imperial court, where nobles lived lives of luxury and sophistication. Men and women adorned themselves in elaborate silk kimonos, their appearances meticulously curated to reflect social status. Court life revolved around aesthetics. Everything from calligraphy to flower arranging was elevated to an art form. Poetry, especially in the form of waka, became a cornerstone of communication. Nobles exchanged poems as love letters, diplomatic gestures, or expressions of gratitude. These verses were often written on beautifully decorated scrolls, blending words with visual art. One of the most remarkable figures of this era was Murasaki Shikibu, a lady-in-waiting at the imperial court. She penned the tale of Genji, often considered the world's first novel. This masterpiece follows the life life of Hikaru Genji, a fictional prince, as he navigates love, politics, and personal growth. Through its vivid characters and intricate storytelling, the tale of Genji provides a window into the opulence and complexity of Heian society. But not all was serene in Heian Japan. Beneath the refined surface lay simmering tensions. The Fujiwara clan, a powerful aristocratic family, wielded immense influence over the imperial court. By marrying their daughters to emperors, they effectively controlled the government. While the emperor remained a symbolic figurehead, real power rested in the hands of regents appointed by the Fujiwara. This concentration of authority created resentment among other clans, sowing the seeds of future conflict. Religion also played a central role during this period. Buddhism continued to thrive, blending seamlessly with native Shinto beliefs. Monks and scholars traveled to China to study Buddhist texts, returning with new ideas that enriched Japanese spirituality. Esoteric sects like Shingon and Tendai gained prominence, emphasizing rituals, meditation, and the pursuit of enlightenment. Temples like Enryakuji on Mount Hiei became centers of learning and religious practice, attracting pilgrims and patrons alike. As Japan entered the later years of the Heian period, signs of decline began to emerge. Provincial landowners grew increasingly independent, hiring private armies to protect their interests. These warriors, known as samurai, would eventually rise to prominence, marking the beginning of Japan's feudal era. Yet even as the Heian period drew to a close, its contributions to Japanese identity endured, shaping everything from art and literature to governance and spirituality. The year 1185 marked a turning point in Japanese history with the establishment of the Kamakura shogunate, ushering in an era of samurai rule that would last for nearly 5 centuries. This period was defined by warriors who lived by Bushido, or the way of the warrior, a code emphasizing loyalty, courage, and honor. These samurai were not just soldiers, they were poets, philosophers, and leaders whose influence shaped every aspect of society. The Mongol invasions of the late 13th century tested Japan's resilience. Twice, in 1274 and 1281, massive Mongol fleets set their sights on the islands, but each time, storms known as kamikaze, divine winds, destroyed the invaders' ships, sparing Japan from conquest. Though victorious, these battles drained resources and deepened internal divisions, setting the stage for decades of unrest. By the Muromachi period, 1336 to 1573, central authority had weakened significantly. Powerful regional warlords, called daimyo, carved out their own territories, leading to the chaotic Sengo era, or Warring States period. This tumultuous time saw constant warfare as rival clans vied for dominance. Yet amidst the chaos, culture flourished. Zen Buddhism gained popularity, inspiring minimalist aesthetics reflected in tea ceremonies, ink paintings, and rock gardens. Samurai poetry reached new heights, blending martial themes with reflections on life's impermanence. Out of this turmoil emerged 3 legendary figures who would transform Japan: Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu. Nobunaga, ruthless and innovative, introduced firearms to Japanese warfare and crushed many of his enemies. His successor, Hideyoshi, unified much of the country through diplomacy and brute force, constructing grand castles like Osaka Castle as symbols of his power. Finally, Tokugawa Ieyasu consolidated control after the decisive Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, establishing the Tokugawa shogunate in Edo, modern-day Tokyo, in 1603. This brought an end to centuries of conflict and inaugurated over 200 years of relative peace. In 1603, Tokugawa Ieyasu established the Edo shogunate, marking the beginning of a remarkable era of stability and isolation. For over 2 centuries, Japan practiced sakoku, a policy of limited foreign contact that restricted trade to only a few select ports and nations. This self-imposed seclusion allowed Japanese culture to flourish undisturbed, giving rise to vibrant art forms like kabuki theater, woodblock prints, ukiyo-e, and haiku poetry. The rigid social structure of the time placed samurai at the top, followed by farmers, artisans, and merchants, creating a society where roles were clearly defined. But the world was changing rapidly, and Japan could not remain isolated forever. In 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry's black ships arrived in Edo Bay, demanding that Japan open its doors to international trade. Faced with the threat of Western military power, the reluctant nation signed treaties that ended centuries of isolation. This marked the start of a profound transformation. The Meiji Restoration of 1868 brought dramatic changes as the emperor regained political authority, and Japan embarked on a path of rapid modernization. Railroads crisscrossed the land, connecting cities and villages. Factories sprang up, producing goods for both domestic consumption and export. Universal education became a priority, empowering citizens with knowledge and skills needed to compete globally. Traditional samurai gave way to conscripted soldiers wearing Western-style uniforms, symbolizing the shift toward modern warfare. By the early 20th century, Japan had emerged as a formidable global power. It defeated China in the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894–1895, and shocked the world by defeating Russia in the Russo-Japanese War, 1904–1905. These victories cemented Japan's status as a major player on the international stage, setting the stage for even greater ambitions in the decades to come. The Taisho era, 1912–1926, marked a brief period of liberal reforms and economic growth in Japan, but it was overshadowed by rising militarism during the early Showa era. By the 1930s, aggressive expansionist policies led Japan into conflict with its neighbors and eventually into World War II. The war brought devastation to the nation, culminating in the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. These catastrophic events forced Japan's surrender, bringing an end to centuries of imperial rule. Under American occupation, 1945–1952, Japan underwent sweeping reforms. A new constitution was adopted, renouncing war and transforming the emperor into a ceremonial figurehead. Emphasis shifted from militarism to economic recovery, laying the foundation for what would become one of the most remarkable comebacks in modern history. By the 1960s, Japan had entered its economic miracle, achieving unprecedented growth through innovation and industrialization. Companies like Sony, Panasonic, and Toyota became global brands, exporting high-quality electronics and automobiles worldwide. Infrastructure projects boomed, including the construction of the Shinkansen bullet train, which connected major cities and symbolized Japan's technological prowess. The 1964 Tokyo Olympics served as a powerful symbol of Japan's resurgence on the global stage. It showcased not only the nation's rapid modernization but also its ability to rebuild after unimaginable destruction. As prosperity spread, Japanese society embraced consumer culture while retaining deep ties to tradition. However, beneath the surface of success, challenges loomed, such as urban overcrowding, environmental degradation, and growing tensions between tradition and modernity. By the late 1980s, Japan had become the world's second-largest economy, characterized by booming asset prices and widespread optimism. This period of affluence, known as the bubble economy, reflected both the heights of Japan's achievements and the fragility of its foundations. The collapse of the bubble economy in the early 1990s marked the beginning of a challenging era for Japan, often referred to as the lost decades. Prolonged economic stagnation, coupled with demographic shifts like an aging population and declining birth rates, posed significant challenges. Yet, even in adversity, Japan demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability, continuing to lead in innovation and culture. Today, Japan is a nation where tradition and cutting-edge technology coexist seamlessly. In bustling urban centers like Tokyo and Osaka, neon-lit skyscrapers stand alongside centuries-old temples and shrines. The Shinkansen bullet train zips through modern cities while rural areas preserve age-old customs, such as tea ceremonies and Matsuri festivals. This unique blend of old and new defines contemporary Japanese identity. In the realm of technology, Japan remains at the forefront of global innovation. Robotics, artificial intelligence, and space exploration are just a few areas where Japan excels. Humanoid robots assist in homes and workplaces, while companies like SoftBank push the boundaries of AI research. Meanwhile, JAXA, Japan's space agency, continues to make strides in lunar exploration and satellite technology, showcasing the nation's commitment to advancing humanity's understanding of the cosmos. Pop culture has also become one of Japan's most influential exports. Anime, manga, and video games captivate audiences worldwide, creating a bridge between Japan and younger generations across the globe. Iconic franchises like Pokémon, Dragon Ball, and Final Fantasy have transcended borders, becoming cultural touchstones. Sumo wrestling, once a niche sport, now attracts international fans, further solidifying Japan's place on the world stage. Despite its achievements, Japan faces pressing issues. Natural disasters, such as earthquakes and typhoons, remain constant threats, testing the nation's preparedness and resolve. Social challenges, including workplace stress and gender inequality, persist, prompting calls for reform. Yet, Japan's ability to confront these difficulties with creativity and determination continues to inspire. As we look to the future, Japan stands as a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Whether it's through technological breakthroughs, artistic expression, or timeless traditions, Japan continues to shape the world while honoring its past, a true embodiment of the land of the rising sun. As our journey through 2,000 years of Japanese history comes to an end, let us reflect on its enduring legacy. Through invasions, civil wars, and reconstruction, Japan has shown remarkable adaptability and perseverance. Its ability to balance reverence for the past with bold strides toward the future serves as a testament to human ingenuity and determination. If you enjoyed this journey through the land of the rising sun, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire and connect us across time and culture. Let us know in the comments what part of Japan's history fascinated you the most, or what story you'd like us to explore next.